Hi everybody, April 2nd, 2019. Today we're going to do a real quick video on how you can sharpen your own chains for your chainsaw. Now, one point of note is that if you are cutting and if it's cutting crooked, it's bellying and going real crooked, chances are it's the set in your bar. And what that is the groove in your bar has gotten too wide. They make special tools that you can go in, it's like a roller that will come in with the chain off and re-tighten that up. That's one option. Usually if you've worn one out that bad, you may as well just go ahead and replace it. But for sharpening, as far as I'm concerned, all of the electric sharpeners, now I've gotten advice, I learned from a logger that's did logging for 40 years. He's gotten his shop set up. He said he used it one time 30 years ago. And it's just sitting there. He let me try it, and I tried it. I don't like it. The electric sharpeners, they burn. If you get any amount of bluing, which they typically do, it changes the temperature, the temper. So then when you go to cut, it's not as hard. And if you're cutting any hardwoods, your hard oaks, your Osage oranges, your black locusts, it's just going to destroy, with that being a softer than what it's supposed to be, it's just going to mess it up. So, also, if with a little bit of practice, you can hand sharpen and get this chain sharper than the brand new out of the box from the factory. So, I got a little cheat sheet I'm looking at here a little bit. Make sure I cover everything. How you sharpen it changes the kickback properties. So you have to use some caution. Now, there's a couple things. This guide here, you can buy one of these guides. It works with any size file. And if you take a look, it holds the file. Ultimately, you're holding a file about a 32nd of an inch or a millimeter above the top of the chain. So ultimately from your flat surface, what this does, I'll show you how this works basically. It comes in and it's got an angle on here, 30-degree angle. That 30-degree angle is the angle. If you look real close, see if it'll close it. On the chain, they've already got a line pre-marked on there. They've already got lines pre-marked. You don't need any of this stuff. It's right there on the chain. Your file size selection right here on the box. On the box it says for this chain we need a 7/32 file. There's multiple kinds. Don't buy the cheapest out there. You can buy this 3-pack was $2.95. For your first time to get practice for your angle, if you want, you can find one of these online. I saw them just the other day, $10. Or you can buy the fancy Still one for $30. I like Still. It's a Still saw, but I like Oregon chains and Oregon bars. Just personal preference, but this is going to apply to any of them. If you got any kids or grandkids, all you need is a protractor here, and this will help you with your 30-degree angle. Now watch your 30. It's actually off of 90, so it's actually going to be 60 for this, as far as when you look at the numbers. But essentially, a good chain is already going to have them lines pre-marked on there. I touch it up between each tankful. I'll go in and hit each spot maybe 4 or 5 times. Just run it right through. First off, you're going to make sure that your chain is tightened. If you've got a bunch of slack in it, then as you're going, it's going to wobble real bad. So make sure your chain is tight. No need to remove the chain. You just do it right in there. I like to put it in a vise. Use the proper size file. Don't use cheap files. If you don't want to buy a fancy handle, whatever kind of handle, my logger friend, when he first got started in the 1970s, he said he used to use a piece of corn cob for the file handle. He said he did that for years. You're going to hold the file with both hands, and ultimately you're going to come in here and you're going to go where your point is, and you're going to hold it with both hands, and you're just going to push forward. 2, 3, pull it out. 4, or just move it back. 5, 6. You're only putting pressure on the forward stroke. You're not doing it backwards. And what that's doing is it's bringing this to a really nice sharp point. Now, when you get done with that one, you're going to go, here's another tip, pro tip, pull it this way, away, so that if it's tight and your hand slips, you're going against the dull side that's not sharpened. I can tell you from experience, I almost needed to get stitches when I first learned to do this because I pulled it back the other way. It slipped and I tore up my finger pretty good because these do get sharp. But then when you go from that one, hit it, touch it up, go to this one, and you just go in and hit it about 4 or 5 times. If you've got nicks if you can visibly see any nicks in there where you hit a rock, you might have to hit it 10 or 20 times. And when you work back to that, also that little line that we see on there, when it gets back close to there, it's time to throw the chain away. But ultimately, I can get, 40, 50 tanks of fuel out of one chain without having to take anything off. It's really simple. So there again, you don't need the fancy stuff, a little protractor. You do it a few times, about 1 millimeter up. Make sure and pull it away from you. So just some thoughts. You can do it with a little bit of practice. There's no need to, and then another thought is, when you've got a doll chain and you're sitting there trying to cut and you're throwing out little powdery sawdust, you're aggravating yourself, you're wearing out, you're getting your bar hot, which is changing the temper and going to wear out your bar. You're putting a lot of undue stress running your motor for nothing because it's just sitting there winding out and not actually cutting anything. When it starts getting dull, why aggravate yourself? Go ahead and just touch it up. You don't even need to put it in a vise. You can just set it down, and when you get done, go through, when you get all the way around, flip it around, hit the other side. 5 minutes, and you're done, and you're ready to go. Keep it out of the dirt, keep it out of the rocks, and you can cut for a couple tanks full, and then touch it up. But there should be 16 quick tips on sharpening your chain. You can do it. Thanks for watching, everybody.